So welcome to this Zoom session for Hate Crime Week, which is a week to highlight different types of hate crime, to raise awareness as well for people to know ways in which to see what a hate crime is, recognize it, learn how to report hate crimes, learn how to make people aware of what types of hate crimes exist currently. And my name is Chembo Liandisha, and welcome to this Bawso session for hate crime. And currently I am working on the hate crime awareness project for North Wales for Bawso. And what we'll be doing during these sessions is making sure that we are educating, we are speaking to people who are in the communities that are affected by hate crime. So we'll have people from the Black community, we'll have the Islamic community, the Muslim community, we'll have the traveler/gypsy community, and we'll also be able to speak to the LGBT community during these sessions, just so we can learn, learn from the people and be able to ask questions openly in a relaxed manner, just to kind of widen our knowledge base, basically. So today we have the lovely Shamima from Bawso, and she'll be educating us and just giving us a bit of what she's experienced, and also not just that, but maybe things she's had other people experience as well. And yeah, so Shamima, I'll allow you to introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shamima Chowdhury-Islam, and I'm a support worker. I cover the Flintshire area for Bawso. And thank you very much for inviting me, Chembo.
Yeah, I'm glad you say yes to this. I think I feel like it's a really great, I don't know, it's a great thing to be able to have people within the organization that can share their stories and can be able to educate us, so we're not just, it's easy if we talk about hate crime and talk about it from a perspective of, oh, these are the types and these are whatevers, but like, it's better to hear from people who are affected and people who know from that community what they experience. We have another person joining us, I'll admit them in a second. And just, it's easier to have you here because I know you as well, so it's much easier for me to have you a part of this. And I'm glad you're having a great time accepting that you'll be famous on Bawso social media. Thank you so much.
Not quite sure about being famous.
Yeah, that's basically what we're doing. So we have another person joining us. I'm just going to mute them. Welcome, Sharai. I'm just gonna ask you to mute yourself just currently because we've started the session, so we're gonna try to mute everyone. Hi. So Shamima, just to get started, if you can just introduce yourself lightly and tell us a bit about yourself before.
So, as I said, my name is Shamima Chowdhury-Islam, and I've been working for Bawso for the past 5 years. And I cover the Flintshire area. I'm responsible for the refuge here. Personally, I have 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. I live in Flintshire in Buckley. I've been living here for the past 15 years. I moved here after I got married. And that's really it, really. So my colleagues are here. Can I just say hello to Betty and Sharai as well? Hi, ladies.
Hello. Hello, girls.
So glad to see you all. It's great. So just to start with, I'm using my phone for the questions because I put them all on my phone to make it easier for myself. So have you ever experienced prejudice or racism as a Muslim woman?
I've been very fortunate because I've actually grown up in Bradford in West Yorkshire, which is a really, cosmopolitan area. And I've studied in London. I went to university there. And I haven't actually received any racism whilst I've been a student or when I've been living in Bradford. After I got married, when I moved to Flintshire back in 2005, I've been very, very fortunate because as a Muslim woman, I cover quite visibly with a headscarf. Sometimes I wear the abaya, but I'm always covered. My one incidence of possibly prejudice was, after a number of years of living in the Flintshire area, when I've been living in Conisky, or travelling in Conisky, and I remember walking and a passerby in a car just shouted the Paki to me. So I don't know, if that was targeted at my ethnicity at my Muslim identity, but I felt that's the only time in my life where I felt quite, violated, in a sense that somebody's, I did feel slightly threatened. But obviously he was driving past, and I had the urge to actually stop him and, try and educate him about the history of racism. My own background is actually in sociology, etc., and I am really interested in race and identity. And I wanted to actually tell him, I am not a Paki, I am not Pakistani, and actually educate the person. But I felt quite very insulted and really hurt by that. So that's the only occasion of racism. But I've had children, and I think when my eldest daughter went to school one day, her first few weeks in school, and I remember, I was dressed in my abaya, and I remember taking her to nursery, and one of her friends, he was asking his mum, she's white, and they're very good friends of ours, and he was asking his mum, "Mummy, why does that lady look like Mary?"
Oh wow.
Why is she dressed like Mary? And I could hear his mum shushing, saying to the boy who's called Yon to be quiet to him. But I actually went to the mum and I said, "Look, it's curiosity. He's a child." And I could see that she was really offended, upset for me. And I said, "Look, I'm not offended at all. I bet you want to know why in the middle of summer I'm wearing this abaya and why I'm dressed up as I am." And then I explained to her, and she was, it was just a starter of our friendship, and we're very good friends now. Wow. I think I've received racism through my children a lot more than me personally. So again, my daughter was only minority in school, and I think she realized that she was different to other children, perhaps when she was in year 1. And one day she came back and said, some children said that she had brown skin, and she couldn't understand why they had yellow skin and white skin and why she had brown skin. So I felt it was really important for the class teacher to educate the children about these things and to highlight the fact that my daughter is different, but for them to actually raise the issue of awareness of difference.
I like that you said that, the difference part, because I think a lot of times it's like the narrative is always geared towards we are all the same. But it's like, if we keep saying we're all the same, and kids can see we don't all look the same. So, no. We kind of make all the important discussions stop when we just say we're all the same, because it just... That's
right. So I went to the head teacher, and and the class teacher, and they were very, very apologetic. And I said, there's no need to apologize. It's educating the children about these things. And, they were fantastic. And, I think, I did encourage them to use like different forms of education material. Last year, my youngest daughter, again, she was quite upset during World Book Day. She was going to go dressed as Wanda from Where's Wally, Chembo, and she chose her outfit, etc. But on the day, she was actually really upset because I didn't understand why. I left her at the door of school, and the teacher took her in. But after school, the teacher wanted to see me, and then she found out why my daughter was upset, because a boy in her class had said to my daughter that she couldn't be Wanda because Wanda's not brown and my daughter's brown. Wow. So the teacher was really apologetic and really, 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 really embarrassed. And the mother of the child, I actually spoke to her day before, and she was like just trying to avoid me. But I went to the mother, and I explained he's being curious and you have to educate him. And we have to educate I've got to educate my daughter as well. Like it's not his fault, and it's really important. So I find it, through my children, I'm actually seeing the stance of racism more. But I think the school's been fantastic. But Chembo, I do remember, after 9/11. It was quite, very, really heightened then, the Islamophobia then.
To get into that, the Islamophobia part of it. I'll let you continue because I'm
the Islamophobia was really quite heightened, and I remember just finishing uni and, being quite scared about how people would be seeing Muslim women. I was hearing stories of people's hijabs being pulled off, acid attacks, all sorts. And I was actually really quite terrified, traveling alone or and things like that. So, but thankfully, I didn't receive any kind of hate crime or anything, any bad behavior at all. So, yeah, I think I've been quite fortunate. Yeah.
You were saying about parents, I wasn't going to really delve into that much, but like we're going in this direction, but parents as well, like educating. I think it's also them educating themselves, because I don't know what your experience is, but I feel like sometimes parents are unable to educate their children on things they don't even have any real knowledge around. So they tend to just pass on the same type of like knowledge, which is don't talk about that, don't ask questions, and then like you were saying, parents usually being very like, okay, we don't ask people this, we can't ask them these questions, which now, creates a barrier for the kid to be able to.
Yeah, I do understand. I completely agree with you, because I think people feel afraid that they might offend us or insult us, and the political correctness. I think that there's a fine line between the political correctness, but where you need to ask and educate, you should do that.
Yeah.
And it's really important, because if you don't learn about why I'm dressed like this, and the best way of learning about such a thing is from personal experience. Mm-hmm. Now, if I can inform you,
I like that, because like asking questions. If this ends up, which it will, wherever this is ending up, if you can take one thing is ask questions and be open. Don't ask. Obviously, sometimes we don't know how to phrase questions, but ask questions freely in a manner that isn't offensive as well. Like ask in a way that makes the other person feel comfortable to respond as well.
And I think us as well as BME people, we need to be open and give people that opportunity as well. Because if we are, if we don't give them that opportunity, then it's not nice for them. And if we can highlight and talk about these things, I think it's really good. And it's just, it opens up lots of friendships. So yeah.
Yeah. So we've covered quite a lot of the questions like already at the point, which is great, because I had all these bits, but the thing is I'm trying to make it as free-flowing as possible. So I'm happy when the talking is just going, because that's good. It's not like, oh, what do you think about this, Shamima? Okay, what do you think? It's just like, that's too robotic as well. So like your experience with like your daughter, so I'm gonna rephrase this question a little bit. Like, how did that change how you carry yourself and how maybe your daughter carries herself? Did you see a change in that, or did you see a change in how she thought about certain things? And
I think obviously my daughter at the time was, I think she was about 5 or 6 years old, but I think sitting down with her and explaining to her, like, we're not the same. Look, mummy and you are not the same. And other people around the world are not the same, and including talking about disabilities and things, highlighting these things. At the time, Chembo, I watch a lot of CBeebies. So at the time on CBeebies, there was a great program called I've forgotten it now. It had three bears called Mish Mush and Mogo. So I used that to talk about difference. And how we're all the same. The motto of that program is we're all the same, but we're all different, because we've all got the same smile, but we're all different. And that was really good for, in child's language, to explain that to her. And the fact that, you can have disabilities. On CBeebies, they used to have a disabled presenter. And I remember, my mother-in-law being quite upset seeing the disabled presenter, but then me talking to my daughter about these things, it was really good, but she's very confident. She's very confident in her, the way she is. At the moment, she's in year 9. She wears the hijab herself, and she conducts herself, really confidently. So it's great, yeah.
So I will delve into actually the hijab just to ask, I guess, as well for my own thing. But what are the ways do you think people who are not in the Muslim community can be, I guess, helpful or less prejudiced or more understanding? In what ways do you think people can be,
I think, I think it's we should try and be more, develop more friendships, more, have more go and attend Muslim mosques, etc. If you want to learn, because if I want to learn about
the church, you can actually do that. I know.
Yes, we have annual open events in mosques, to educate people about mosques. I know we do here in Chester, in North Wales, in Rhyl, etc. We have these open events, and like the church, the Muslim mosque is, we all follow one God at the end of the day, and it's just we have just slightly different interpretations. But at the end of the day, we have this respect for people, for humanity, and we have humility, and that's what makes us human. And as I said, we're all the same, but we have, yeah. But I think, greater awareness, greater education, and asking, befriending, your friends, anybody that you see in school, wherever, and different Muslims have different cultures, etc. So go on and learn about different variations of the Muslim culture, because it's not just one, there's lots of variations as well.
It's good to hear you can go and attend different events in mosques, because I think maybe that's the same energy people have towards churches as well. They don't know if they can just go into a church or just go into a mosque. I guess that is applicable to a mosque as well. So.
But the mosque is a space for the community, Chembo. It's a learning space. It's a space for peace. It's a space for tranquility, just as the church is. And it's open to everybody, whether you're a Muslim or a non-Muslim. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Another question that I had was, I'm not sure if this is applicable, but I'll ask it anyway. What are the things that are that are prejudice that people say, or do repetitively that they may not even be aware of, people that are not in the community? So things they can say, I think the term they have for this is like microaggressions, how people will make little comments around people's appearances or culture without, being outrightly racist or, I guess Islamophobist, but there are things that people can say or can do.
Well, some Muslim women wear the niqab, so they're often termed as ninjas, or we had Boris Johnson calling it the letterbox, but we're all wearing letterbox now. Ironically, we're all wearing it now. We're all wearing the mask now. And we can all understand what it's like, but I think these terms, these little digs, these little snide comments, it's not nice. And also the fact that people perceive the hijab or Muslim women to be forced to be wearing this. So I'm wearing this voluntarily, but other people might assume I've been forced to wear this, and I might be quite a submissive person, or I might be quite introvert. They have all these stereotypes about women in general. And with our third identities of being Black, Asian, and being Muslim, all these things people try and, it can be quite demoralizing. But, when you do challenge people, I remember being at a supermarket, actually, Chembo, and the lady talking to me in quite a patronizing manner. And I'm not one for confrontation, but I felt I had to really speak up then. Because, it was like, she was speaking to me as though I don't speak English or can't understand English. And I said to her, look, why are you talking to me in this manner? What's wrong with you? If you have something to say it clearly. You don't need to emphasize your words. You don't need to X, Y, and Z. She felt quite embarrassed. But yes, I was covered completely on that day. So I thought, is it my Muslim identity that she feels, or what is it? Is it because of my skin color? But I think she was quite, taken aback. But you do have these little, prejudices from people, but what can you do?
I think those are the things that I think people need to constantly be aware of, is how they treat people from different cultures. So it's good to hear you say, how these things do affect you and how these things do affect people that are in the Islamic community. Because I think we tend to take for granted that, that we can, we can move about normally, whatever that means, into shops. And I think a lot of people that don't come from communities that are the minority in this country or in this space, they tend to take for granted that they can just do certain things, but they don't really.
I just add, for example, the way I appear to the public, I'm covering, etc. For me, that's a liberating thing. I feel confident doing that. But for others, they might see me wearing the jilbab or having lots of layers of clothing on in the summer. I, as being, what is she doing? Why is she dressed like that? But if I find dressing as I do as a Muslim woman to be completely liberating. It gives me a strong sense of identity. I know when I see another Muslim woman dressed as I do, we have that connection, and it's quite unique. You know, and it's nice because I can surround that woman. I know she's of a Muslim background. She knows how I am feeling. So I think it's really important that people understand that Muslim women are not forced to wear the hijab, and we're not all submissive, and we're not all controlled by our husbands, etc. And many of us, especially in this
this point as well, because that was actually my next question. So I'm happy for you to even just elaborate even more, because these are like misconceptions people have. People have misconceptions that women aren't choosing to wear these as a, you know, cultural practice, and as a religious practice, they feel as if women are being forced to wear.
Yeah.
Hijabs and hijabs.
Yes, yeah. You know, I myself started wearing the hijab at the age of 18. You know, I was encouraged by my parents. I was educated about them, but I made that step, you know, quite later on, I would say, in my life. And it's given me a great sense of identity and you know, connection with other Muslims around the world. And it's just, you know, I'm constantly reminded how to conduct myself in society with others, etc. But yeah, you know, I don't know of anybody who's been forced to wear the hijab. I wouldn't know their experience, but I am aware that it does go on. But we should be mindful that for the majority, it's not a forced entity, and that, you know, we are, lots of Muslim women, as many other BME women, etc., are doing fantastic, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also, just to round this off before I ask anyone to ask questions. So how important is it for you to celebrate your culture and your faith?
Very important. It's really important for me to celebrate my culture. As a British Bangladeshi person living in this country, trying to maintain my heritage, I try to maintain my mother tongue. It's very difficult. But I speak very good Bangla anyway, but I'm not sure about my children. It's quite sad. But you know, I would encourage them to learn my mother tongue as well. But in terms of celebrating our cultures, it's lovely. You know, the traditions that my parents have during weddings, during celebrations, during, you know, events. I find that really lovely. The fact that we wear saris, etc. I love all of that cultural stuff. And also my religious, you know, the celebrations that we have in observing Islamic festivals, holy days. It's just a unifying, especially where we are in North Wales, Chembo. You know, the population here, we're all so scattered around. And it's just nice to get together in one point, if it's the mosque or if it's somebody's house, and, you know, getting to see other mums, other people of our culture, other friends, etc. Even as a black woman, you know, with my colleagues, etc. When we're celebrating Black history, etc. When I'm with you guys, it's just that it's lovely, you know, having that cultural things that we do. So I always embrace that, and I really enjoy it. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, honestly, for everything you've shared. I know we have limited time with you, and I really appreciate, because honestly, you've delved into so much more than I even could have come up in question format. So that's why this is so important, to talk to people in the community, because it goes beyond just questions. It's experience, it's life, it's daily life, you know. So I really appreciate that. And does anyone have any extra questions for Shamima right now? Sharai or Betsy, if you have any extra questions currently, you can unmute and then ask the question. We have a couple of minutes, and then you have.
There's one thing I didn't mention, Chembo, that's quite important, is food.
Yes.
Yeah, and how that, you know, brings us together as well. You know, how my Islamic stance of the way we eat food, etc., and culturally as well. So that unites us quite well, doesn't it, as well? So, yes. And I always love that as well. So yeah.
Also, like, food from your culture is amazing. Yeah, I love the food.
Thank you, Chembo.
We're coming to eat soon. Sorry.
Okay. Hi. You know, it's really nice to talk about these things, you know, just to share, see how people, you know. You know, when you mentioned that your daughter, the one who went to school, and then a boy said something to her, and then the teacher told, does the teachers also educate these children? Do they even talk to them? I mean, in an educative way, to say, rather than just to brush them off, to say, oh, you don't say those things. Also, it's not only parents that needs to be educated. Yes, teachers are there, But most teachers as well, they don't even know about racism. About racism.
Well, I'll tell you something, Shara. I think, you know, my children's school, when my daughter started, she was the only minority and the visible minority as well. I think the school has done, you know, they're a lot better. But I understand, you know, they just brush it off with an RE lesson or something, or a PSC lesson, and that's not good enough. Especially now, even in our schools in North Wales, there's more minority children. I see it more and more in our schools. You know, there's more Eastern European. But one thing I'll say, I remember, I was actually a governor in my children's school. But one thing the chair never did, and I found it, you know, maybe I should have challenged, you know, he would call everybody by their names. And then he would say, refer to me as she or you, or not even say Mrs. Islam. Not even say, my name, you know, my name Shamima is spelt as it is said. Okay. So he never made an effort. And but I didn't speak up. I never challenged, because he was a chair and he was a councillor. I thought, oh gosh. So maybe if I had challenged him, you know, and if I had raised that, so I did find that quite condescending. Especially in you know, school meeting like that, you know. But I think, you know, again, it's just they don't want to offend. If he had said my name wrong, as in call me Shamima, as they sometimes do, that just shows he's making an effort. The fact he didn't make an effort, I did find that quite upsetting at times, but it's my fault I didn't highlight it. But Sharai, the school have been fantastic. I would say they have educated, and they do take on board my suggestions. And you know, they do have, I've seen it, you know, they do talk about diversity, etc., a lot more than they used to, which is really positive, especially in this area.
Thank you for that, bringing up that point as well, Sharai. I feel like it's really important to have these conversations, like in general, even in schools and in homes, even just like with random people, because I feel like some of the conversations I've had, the best conversations around race and whatever, have been with people I don't know. Like, it's been with people who will say, you know, who will ask me where I'm from, and then I've had to, you know, strike up a conversation from that, you know, from that point, and delve into something they didn't expect me to go into as well, just to kind of make them aware that sometimes asking certain questions creates a certain friction, you know, for people. And so we have a very, our Zoom will be cut off in a bit, since we've only been given 40 minutes in 1 minute. So I'll just stop the recording right here. Thank you everyone who's joining us. We have 1 minute where we can all have a quick 1 minute discussion.
Oh, it's so nice to see you guys.
That's why I came for this.